Hello everyone, my name is Andrei and I'm glad to see you all at this session on the Winter Data Meetup organized by DataZen and Comday communities. And today we meet Santiago Lopez, a leader in data analytics. In this session, you will get insights how AI is reshaping the insurance industry. But before we jump into our session, I'd love to take a moment to ask you for your support in growing our community and recognizing our speaker. So if you're enjoying today's discussion and want to stay updated on upcoming events, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And your participation not only acknowledges our efforts, but also help us reach a wider audience, allowing more people to learn from the insightful discussions. Also, in the video description, you will find a link to the talk page where you can share your feedback, award the speaker a badge, and rate the session. Your input is incredibly valuable. It helps us improve our future events and ensures our speakers get the recognition they deserve for their hard work. And we'd love to hear from you through the talk. So if you have any questions or insights, feel free to drop them in the chat and we will discuss your questions during Q&A session at the end. And your contributions make the discussion even richer, so don't hesitate to participate. And now let's welcome our speaker, Santiago Lopez, to share his valuable insights with us. Santiago, floor is yours.
Thank you, Andre, and hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning. I was trying to make the setting a bit wintry, as you can see. Um, and so let's hope this is an enjoyable time for you. This is going to be an interesting presentation of a client project that we did on the insurance domain. It's one of our best end-to-end case studies in EPAM for GenAI in insurance. So once again, hope you enjoy it. And let's just take it away. So who am I to start with? I've been basically working in insurance and technology my whole life. I'm a mathematician. I am an actuary, so I do this, financial probabilistic mathematics that help calculate reserves, pricing, all these risk calculations. I started my career as that. I went on to become the chief risk officer of AXA, which is a quite big insurance group, multinational in Colombia. I then became their chief data officer. So I did a bit of a career switch from the world of risk and risk calculations to the world of data, which are all quite close. And I've done basically a number of implementations on let's say, the foundational data space, so around data governance, as well as analytics. And it's been now 3.5 very interesting years with EPAM, in which we've done a ton of projects for the insurance space. And this is, I would say, the latest one around applications of GenAI in underwriting. So how this is going to look. First, we're going to start by framing the situation around the business, because I know that insurance may not be familiar for everyone, and it's a very specific domain. So I do want you to understand about, first, where we are, what's our setting, then what is the problem inside that setting, and what are the challenges, and basically why it was so challenging to solve the problem that we're going to look at before GenAI came along. Then our solution. So what did we build? We're going to show it live. Then we're going to speak about the business case, which is always a fundamental part in a project. A project needs to be profitable for the business. There needs to be value for the business. Then we just want to speak a bit about testing in the setting of GenAI, some lessons that we learned during the project, and of course, Q&A with all of you. So let's move along. So this is group life insurance. We call it scheme protection underwriting. So this is when An employer buys insurance, life insurance for their employees as part of basically benefits. So if you think about it, your company uh, wants you to have um, really this peace of mind. So if something happens to you, then your family will be protected, or even yourself. So basically, if you're disabled, then you will have an insurance that's going to pay your salary while you cannot work. If you die, which can happen, then there will be a capital that it will be given to your beneficiaries. That's usually your family. So this is the business that we're speaking about. And then the specific part of the process is underwriting. So there's two, uh, say, key fundamental parts of the insurance, what we call the insurance value chain, right? So how the key parts of the business model of an insurer. One is the underwriting side. The other one is claims. So claims is a bit self-explanatory. So when something happens, let's say if it's car insurance, when you crash your car, then you file a claim, you get paid back if everything goes well. And then underwriting is what happens at the beginning. So basically, an insurance company is going to decide whether or not they want to insure you, and also what will be the price and conditions at which they want to insure you. Now, because this is uh, insurance or life insurance for many people at once, so it can be, a company can have 1,000 employees, 3,000, 5,000, right? This can be sizable insurance. So the insurer is taking an important risk by accepting to insure the company, well, all the employees. So they want to make sure that this is something that they know how to manage well. On the other hand, so you have the insurer on one side, you have the company that wants their employees insured, and in the middle, usually you will have a broker. So we'll speak about that in a bit, but basically, the process of underwriting is when the insurer will get that request for quotation. So you will have someone saying, guys, please insure us or insure my employees, and you will get that request, and inside that request you will get one part which is specifications. It's going to say, okay, this is what we want in terms of benefits, this is who we are, right? This is a company, this is a sector, this is the policy, like we wanted to start at this date, we wanted to finish at this date, the commissions, right, so on and so forth. And then you have membership data. So this is, I'm mentioning this because this will come up further down the line when we're explaining why we needed GenAI for this. Membership data is basically a big listing of all the employees that are going to be insured. It's anonymized and so on, but it does tell you, for instance, what's the gender of the people insured, what's the risk, the ages, or age segments, and what's the benefits attached to each one. So when someone dies, how much are they expecting to receive as a lump sum? When someone is disabled, how much is basically their replacement salary, a percentage of their salary. So this enables the insurer, these two pieces of information enables them to look through and say, yes, okay, I can insure this company or these employees, right? And it's worth this much, right? Like how much risk am I taking? And this will enable me as well to tell them yes, no, and if I say yes, what will be the price for that insurance? Now, the problem, right? So what happens is that when those requests for insurance come along, they're very, very unstandardized. And basically, people will have a broker. So companies will engage a broker because this is very large insurance premiums usually. And of course, the companies, they want the best for their money and the best protection for their employees. So the brokers will take that request, will sit down with the company, will understand their situation, and will tell them, okay, this is what we're going to go and shop for. This is the type of insurance. These are the specifications. They will build those specifications, right? And they will go and shop the market. Basically, they will go and ask several insurers, guys, can you insure my client, right? But this means that it is the broker that dictates how the data is coming through. So the broker is going to send everything using their own formats, their own structures, their own naming conventions, and it can be very, very different from one request to the next request. Even if they are asking for the same, it can look absolutely different. You will not find the data in the same place. It will not be named the same way. It will not, of course, different file formats, right? Which is, let's say, the smallest part of the problem. But some things, sometimes it will come in tables, sometimes it will come in free text paragraphs, and things will be named very differently. So this is usually a process where you put what is called operations. So basically, people, analysts, who are going to look at those emails that come by and just spend a significant amount of time every day just looking through them and pulling the data out, which is, of course, it's not the highest value add process that you can think of, but so here we can see some examples. So things come in Excel, requests with spaces in between. So very, very hard to read tables, very hard to automate. Or the same information can come inside a Word document with information inside a table, or with information in a paragraph, or the information can come in the email, or half in an email, half in a PDF document. It's really, it can be extremely varied, extremely complex. And so, you should always ask yourself, right? So GenAI, it's the latest, but you always need to use the best tool for the problem at hand. And we shouldn't be spending or using oversized tools, right? So we can always ask ourselves, so do we really need GenAI for this? And let me tell you, I have looked at this problem before. There's some internal projects in EPAM that are very interesting that date from, for instance, 2019, where this could not be solved. So OCR, that's not the technology that you need. It's not about reading, it's not about character recognition. It's not about standardized forms. So not a good fit. It may help in sometimes, right? Because some of the requests may come in non-machine readable PDFs, for instance, and scanned documents. But usually this is not the answer for this. NLP, it can help, but it is very expensive. And it's very expensive because you need to train a model, you need to label the data. And what's expensive is not as in GenAI expensive, right? The time, the GPUs that you need to train this, no. It's because you need to take many requests and label them. So you need someone by hand to go and tell you, this is the client name, this is the broker name, this is the commission, right? So that the model can learn. And you need to label a lot of documents. And this breaks these projects. It breaks the business case. It's not profitable, and it's very hard to get the people to label this well. So this was not a good fit either for this problem. So with GenAI, yes, it's a very good tool for this because it understands the requests in their context. And this is what we built. We built our solution, which is basically prompting using a business accessible glossary. So I will walk you through all of our features. Apologies. So for our user, the first thing that we have, and we will have a demo of this, but this is basically what we put together. It's a single pane of glass view, so that when you upload a document, you quickly get a view of all the variables that have been extracted out of the document in one single place. You have explainability, which is fundamental to build trust. So let's remember that this is a very manual process. Also, insurance is used to legacy technology, right? We don't have the latest in technology, and people are not that used to innovation. So it's very important to walk them through this and give them trust in what in the machine that you're building, right? So that it's not a black box. So basically, we've built explainability so that you can get a view of that source text, and with a highlighted part where you can relate to the data that has been extracted, as well as a feedback loop. Sorry, because yes, this is probabilistic, meaning that the model will not always get this right. It's based on a business glossary, and we'll speak about testing and precision near the end. But I can tell you that sometimes it's very complex, because in the request for quotations, in the emails, you can get even references to other policies. So it can tell you, we have another policy with your insurance company, that has a commission of 12%, but this current policy will only have a commission of 10%. Then it's very easy for the machine to get confused. And we have seen cases where even let's say a junior analyst that comes in can get confused. There's always operational error here, and in our case, there's always a margin of error in what the models extract. So we do have a feedback loop, and the objective of this is that you can overwrite the data that was extracted wrongly, and of course, acknowledging you can overwrite. When you overwrite, you will either in the app, you will store the fact that either the extraction was wrong, so the model, let's say behind the scenes, was wrong, or that you actually received different information because you could have received that information over the phone. Then we have management of Excel tables. A lot of information comes in Excel tables, so you need to identify a table, classify it. So what is this table? Is it about membership? Is it about specification? Is it about claims experience? Right? A very important part of the process. Not an easy problem to solve as well. And then, as I was telling you, a business glossary, or a business accessible glossary. So it's really written in business language, and this is what drives the prompt that allow this to find the data, that allow our application to find the data. And then password protection. This is because a lot of the data is sensitive, so verification of password protection. So the brokers are sending it with passwords, and we want to manage that in the app. So the app will verify whether the files are password protected and query the user for the passwords. All right. So now we will have a small demo of the application. So great. Thank you so much. All right. So what you can see here, this is our landing page, so to speak. So here you have a listing. You can see all the cases that have been put through the app, or only the cases that you have put through the app. But basically, it allows you, and apologies for the resolution, which is low. I am on my laptop screen today, unfortunately. So basically, it will allow you to go back and see, okay, what has been extracted, what has been processed, who has processed it, right? What's the client, what's the advisor name, and so on and so forth. So it does tell you who's like the main data around a request for quotation. Then you have a create button. We have drag and drop functionality, because this all comes through emails, and it's much easier for the underwriters to just take them from Outlook and drag and drop them into the app. So I just took a file, the drag and dropped it here on top. We can see that this file has attachments inside it. It will take, so now it's uploading it. I don't have a slide about architecture. I apologize for that. Should have put it in. However, just to tell you a bit, so this is basically in Azure Databricks LangChain setup, so to speak. We have React as front end. We are using Python for the back end as well, with a SQL database for the app. So now we're uploading the files, we're extracting the attachments. We're looking through each of the attachments to see if there is a password here. There we go, it's done. There was no password, so I wanted to keep it quick for the purpose of our data meetup. So we can see now that this is processing. So this is my case that I just created. It takes between 2 to 5 minutes to process, depends on the complexity of the documents, the number of documents that come attached. Because we don't want to have you waiting for 2 to 5 minutes, I did upload one just now before we started the presentation, so the same email. So this is the about the request for quotation. So client name, of course, this is all fictitious for the purpose of our demo today, of our showcase. When it was received, target date. This is when internally we want to answer to the request. Number of lives, which is the main risk driver. So this is what allows the company to size basically between a small request, medium request, a large request. Underwriting team. So this is an internal underwriting name, and then more information that allows the underwriter to see basically what was sent. Did I get sent travel information? Did I get sent benefits? Did I get sent product name? So sometimes it comes through, sometimes it doesn't. Things like commission percentage. And once again, as I was telling you earlier, so the possibility to relate to the source. So we can see, okay, this says CSH70. So I can see that this came in the email, and then I can see very quickly that the CSH is 70. So this is a great feature to either look through data that is suspicious or to understand the context. For instance, if I know that this broker usually manages commissions of 2 to 5%, then it says 0%. I think, okay, this looks a bit strange. So I come in, I look, and I see, okay, then maybe I'll understand a bit more about why this commission is 0%. And then there's the edit functionality. So in this edit functionality, this is the override. So I can actually go and tell it, for instance, okay, it says 0%, but actually the broker called me over the phone and said, hey, we made a mistake. It's actually 2%. Well, I come here and I select additional information, right? Then, for instance, I can come and the target date. I think there's been a mistake in the calculation. This was wrongly done. It's actually 1 day more, right? So the algorithm was mistaken. I actually come here and tell it that it's wrong, and this allows us to build the feedback loop so that we can retrain those data points that are most commonly erroneous. So I can see then my case summary. I have it structured by blocks that help me to open basically we take this information, we copy the summary, we'll take all this information and use it to open the request in the basically the case management system of our client, as well as a bottom block with missing information. So this will allow me to actually email the broker back very quickly in case some of this information, for instance, product name is usually quite important. If I didn't find it, I need to tell him, you forgot to send me this, or of course, deadline, right? So I can, in a matter of seconds, make a quick email telling him, you're missing some key part of the information. This will allow me to shorten my response times once I have all the information. And then we go back to the list and we can play with another case. While we're looking at this, our earlier case got finished, by the way. All right. So let's switch back to the presentation now. All right. So of course, as I was telling you earlier, this needs to be profitable, essential. So how was the business case for this application built? And we will not enter fine-grained details, but essentially we have a mid-sized underwriting team. So this ranges between 15 to 40 underwriters. We have an team. So we have 2 to 5 people that are working every day, looking at the requests that are received and just extracting the data and opening the case. They do take, say, 5 to 10 minutes per case. They receive a lot of requests. So our client is one of the main players in this protection scheme insurance. So they receive, it's a sizable amount of requests per year. So it is a lot of time of operations. And we're targeting with the app to reduce at least 50%. This is actually what we have measured in on our UAT cycles. Now, so I was saying before, NLP, not a good fit for this. GenAI really broke open the problem. So we were able to deliver our MVP in 6 months with a 650 team. We do have a backlog that we're still developing. And by the way, an important factor to take into account is, so how much does this cost, the ongoing costs, right, for running the app? So it's quite low, it's quite effective. It's based on the architecture, the way that we build, the fact that we're classifying the documents that are coming in. So we're really targeting where to find the data. It takes really, so let's say, I would even say it's less than 50 cents per request in terms of tokens. So we're saving also for the operations team, but also the underwriting team. So the guys that are actually looking at the data and saying yes, no, how much, what conditions. So it's about 25% target savings time once we finish the backlog. And we do expect, or the expectation is that the volume increase as there's more bandwidth, not to extract the data, but to actually analyze it and analyze what's coming through. We have, of course, built detailed calculations with our clients, and the return on investment for the application is positive in less than 2 years' time. So it's quite quick getting, let's say, the money back for the app, and then it's just gain. And then the other fact, which is fundamental, is that the app is quite extensible to other lines of business. So other insurance branches need to basically takes less than a month to adapt to a new line of business. It's basically changing that business dictionary and then adapting the flows, testing, which is always fundamental. We'll speak about it. That takes less than a month, and it multiplies your benefits instantly. So it is quite a profitable use of GenAI. Now, testing, right? So we have some, well, there's many ways, there's some ways to build with GenAI. There's projects that are looking at integration. So, why did we spend time testing? So why didn't we just plug in the business glossary, write some prompts, just run it and let it live? Well, precision of data extraction is one of the key SLAs for the application. So if your client is mature, he will tell you instantly, we need at least X% precision. It will be something over 80%. No one will settle for less, usually between 90 to 95%. Now, even if they're not telling you this directly, precision will be directly linked to the business case, because the less precise that this is, the more time that the operations team will take verifying the data. So it really is quite closely correlated. And of course, the adoption. So if they believe in the data, if the, let's say, lack of precision is low, then the business will be adopting the app. Otherwise, they may not use it. So it's fundamental to measure precision. Throughout the project, we created a development data set. We created a UAT data set. And of course, ground truth that accompanies it. So these are basically, for development, we had 27. For UAT, we had 30 requests anonymized. And then ground truth around those requests. So what is the client name? What is the broker name? What's the commissions? What's the benefits? And so on and so forth. And of course, we need to have agreed criteria for pass and fail. And it may be simpler for some fields. So when it's a date, you need to catch the date, and it needs to be the exact date. But for other fields, which are textual fields, for instance, benefit basis, there needs to be a contextual match rather than an exact test match. So it's very important to agree with your client on what's the criteria for pass, for fail. And we had automated review, so automated testing of this criteria. Nonetheless, we still need to go in, have a manual review, and always a session where we went through this evaluation with the business, right? Not with IT, with the business, to have an agreement on this, to have a common view on the precision of the application. Very important. Now, this is a significant amount of effort. So this is an important thing to say, definitely not to be underestimated. So on the business side, it takes it's work to prepare anonymized data. It's a lot of work to prepare ground truth. The business is not used, to speak about precision. There will be iterations around that ground truth because they will not understand things, even if you have a business dictionary, as you would expect them to. So there's always an alignment needed, several sessions, right? Then there's a lot of effort of the team for formalizing. This is basically, we need to prepare, right? So what's false positive? What does a true positive mean? What's that match criteria? So we all need to define it. We had one of our team members was a data scientist, and he spent his time defining these things, not just working on the prompt. I'm defining this. And then there's, of course, with our BA and myself, all the manual verification that we need to do. And of course, you need to capture, typify what's failing, so those false positives, those false negatives, and turn them into a backlog so that this can improve. And this is not at all irrelevant. So, and you see in this graph that is here are different rounds of testing, where we went progressively. So the blue line shows you on the right hand side the scale, the percentage of precision. So we started with around 70%. We moved up to our business expectation of 90%. We were very happy to hit it because this was the SLA agreed with the business. And of course, an increase in the amount of variables that are extracted. We started with a small number of variables, around 6. We progressively increased to the target number of 17 that the business was expecting to receive. So, and this was through analysis of the backlog. What is not working? Where do we need to focus? And even post UAT, we still had some improvement items that we hope will get precision a bit further up from 90% in our next release. So, what can we say back from the project? I think it's very important to reflect. We reflected a lot with the team. What could have been different? I think some of these items a lot of you will recognize from general, let's say, delivery management of projects. So, however, let me walk you through some of this. Governance. Governance in GenAI, it's not, we should not ignore this because it depends on the industry. Insurance is quite heavily regulated, so you have different figures. You have risk management, you have a compliance officer, that, or even a named data protection officer by law. So start with these people. We spent, I think we spent 10 sessions at least explaining to them what is GenAI, right? What are the algorithms doing? We're anonymizing the data because also in this case, probably some of you have picked this up already, but we're not speaking about low-risk data. This is data that relates to, of course, a lot of PII. So the requests come in anonymized, but still speaking about a population of employees. So you know which company this is. You have an employee list. You can eventually find out who is who. You have the ages, you have the genders, right? You have benefits, and benefits are linked to salary. And then you have health-like information. So you have information about existing diseases and so on and so forth. So it was quite important to anonymize. It's not once again, not low-risk data, right? So we needed to have a lot of rounds with compliance, a lot of rounds with InfoSec to explain them how the app is managing this data, how it is managing securely, what is happening to the data that is being sent to OpenAI. So we had to opt out, for instance, of abuse monitoring. So there is the possibility to do this. Abuse monitoring is basically your Azure OpenAI service storing the prompts to filter them, evaluate whether there is anything related to the risk factors, child pornography, etc., right? And you can opt out of this when your use case is, say, very well typified and you're speaking about a known enterprise and so on and so forth, but this is a full process, right? We need to go through this. So once again, governance, fundamental, start early. There's many people that have heard what ChatGPT is, but they have no idea what GenAI means, right? So start early. Now, once again, factors that are related to delivery management, cloud maturity and change control. So we did have significant changes in architecture that were pushed because the cloud standards, the architecture standards were shifting. And we should have had better change control. So this kind of things that you sometimes let slip because you have a good relationship with the client. It's fundamental to keep the good relationship with the client. Nevertheless, formalize, because some of these things may cost time afterwards. Precision testing, which we spoke about, but really start early precision. So we started, I think, before. So we probably started our first round on this second month of our project, which was good. Otherwise, it would have cost us a lot. Anonymizing the data, I just spoke about this. And we did have an initial agreement with the client to stop in pre-prod. This didn't go well because you cannot build a business case if the application doesn't go in production. And it did cost us change control. So once again, some of these things related to GenAI, some of them related to, let's say, good delivery and project management in general. But this is what we learned throughout our project. Now, I've spoken a lot. I hope that this has been entertaining. We're going to switch now to our Q&A. So please ask any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Santiago, for this great presentation and the demo. And first question, just to clarify, what exactly AI are doing here in this project? So we have a firm, we have a insurance broker, and we have a platform with AI capability, which is processing emails or other free-form documents from brokers to create a case, right?
So yes, AI is going to look through the request documents. So request documents, once again, so an email that has in several attachments. And all of these files contain the information for the request, but this information is going to be dispersed between the email, between some specifications file that can come in very different formats, between an Excel file that has tables across. So basically AI here is being used in two things. One, classifying the tables. So we identify the tables, and then we need to say, okay, this table, what is it? Is it membership data? Is it claims experience? Is it specifications? And we need to treat each, depending on the classification, we need to treat it differently because we will need to extract different data points from each. And then in the specifications file, we need to look for the key data points that are going to enable us to open the request in our case management system. So it's going to be, okay, what's the commission that the broker wants? What's the benefits that the company wants? What's the deadline to come back to them? Is there a lot of travel happening in this company? Because that increases the risk significantly. What's the number of lives? And this is a fundamental part. How many employees are being requested, right? And this is always done looking through the specifications document. But once again, it's a contextual search. So these are not standard forms. This will be really tables or paragraphs that are describing this that is coming along. So we need to understand the information based on the context. So the AI is going to, where basically we have built prompts that are based on business glossary, telling them this is an insurance client, this is what you need to look for, and this is doing some few shot prompting. So giving it examples so that it knows how to find it. This is what the benefit basis looks like. So go and find it. This is what the travel information looks like. Go and find it, right? As well as specification. So a membership data should have this and this and this column, right? There can also be aliases to those column names, right? So once again, if a table comes through, try to classify based on these descriptions that we have built for you. So this is the focus of GenAI in our project. And once again, very hard to do without GenAI. If you try to do this with natural language processing, it implies labeling tons and tons of requests. So a very high cost for the project. This is why GenAI was so important for us here.
Okay, I see. So it's for classification, or also it helps to make decisions and to choose correct insurance program for the employer and decide if this firm is good or bad
That's right.
to deal with
So document
in
classification,
insurance
data
area. Okay.
extraction, correct. And of course, we have a very sizable backlog of things that we are wanting to implement with AI.
And the next question is, wouldn't it be possible to just specify standards for data delivery? Are there any initiatives for standardization in this business domain?
So this is a very good
Instead of using
question.
AI,
Right?
just use standards.
Yes, yes, yes. No, it is. It's an excellent question. Um, there are some initiatives, right? And even our client, the company that we're working with, has something called a broker portal. But so where basically brokers are requested to upload the data following a standard, following conventions. But first, as a lot, there are some projects on other insurance branches, and some of them have been standardized, but many haven't yet. It's a lot of change management. It's also because each insurance company, so there's a lot of commonplaces in the data that they request, but there can be variations. There can be some like evident differences. So for instance, in product naming or product definitions, so one insurance company will give you a certain type of product, whereas say another insurance company will be slightly different. So not only the names will be different, but the definitions of the benefits will be slightly different as well. For instance, some can have medical cover because you have things like critical illnesses. And that medical cover, you can say, okay, I will also insure the family of your employees. And other companies may have very simple products. So um, let's say hard market to organize, to standardize, and then once again the brokers have a lot of mass in this market, so it's very hard to push them towards a standard, even though yes, it will be the best solution. I do agree with that, but nonetheless, while the time comes, we help solve the problem using Gen AI for this.
Okay, thank you. And next question. Did you try Microsoft Azure Document AI for the information extraction from documents?
No, we didn't. It's also a good call. We decided to build this. It was basically a cost question. We thought the problem at hand could be better tackled, building our own prompting around it. But yes, it's an option as well. Solution choices, I would say.
Okay. And next question. Can this platform replace insurance brokers at all and replace them with AI agents?
So brokers, the let's say that the job of a broker, it's much more than just structuring the data. right? So the job of a broker is actually to go to that company, understand their situation, um, and uh, and help them put together the best options of insurance to their employees. And then there's the intermediation part as well, right? Like this shopping, right? So there's a lot of relationship work here. I really don't think that this is gonna push brokers out of the market, right? Um, there is a good question. So a very similar question that you may think about is, will this push underwriters out, right? So will this leave underwriters without a job? Um, and the truth of the matter is that um, this is going to actually um, help underwriters significantly. And as usual, like all this work that they need to do, because you need to know what has been requested, but you need to go and open a ton of documents, look for small pieces of data here and there, right? Now it's automated. So this is basically an assistant to an underwriter. So this is going to empower the underwriters. This is going to help them focus on the actual risk analysis part. So okay, does this fit my underwriting guidelines? So for instance, is this company does this company work in a sector that I want to insure? Right? Maybe it's too risky. Maybe it's things like offshore petroleum that are too risky for yourself. Right? You decide this is part of the risk process of a company. So the underwriter can focus on this rather than the low value adds parts of the job.
Mhm. Thank you. And you mentioned that there is some process for anonymization of the input data before it will be fed to AI. But anyway, this system processes a lot of private data from emails. And is it safe in terms of PII and other regulations like GDPR and so on, of course, to feed such data into
So
AI?
um, yes, GDPR. There's consent. There's also automated data deletion. Of course, the devil is always in the detail, but there's always consent to use this data, which is the essential part of GDPR, and the fact that you can actually delete. And um, let's say um, from an individual perspective, right? You actually have consented. So this is part of the operational processes of your employer. So you have consented to them managing your personal information, including usually your health information, if this is managed through this type of insurance, right? Which changes for each legislation. The country that our client is located, it is the case. So from an individual perspective, it's compliant, right? Now, safety, well, we are working inside all the safety parameters. So um, all the hardening, all the technologies have been approved by the architecture board of our client. So it is safe in that sense. I would even say that there's an aspect that usually don't think about, and it's the fact that these applications, they come and they structure underlying processes. So actually, the fact that now you have an application that's going to receive those emails that are being sent, and that's going to extract the data, it will it will help you change the process so that those emails don't need to be saved in some intermediate folders, which are shared by each and every one in the underwriting team, which makes the process less safe. Now it's being saved in the cloud, it's being saved under clear security policies managed by IT. The data is being deleted automatically based on a schedule. So you reduce a lot of that operational risk around the data. Um, so now, of course, so the basically, conclusion is yes, it is safe. Um,
Okay, thank you. And one more question from the chat. Are you using Scrum as the main methodology on this project?
yes, we are.
And the second part of this question, AI idea come before or during the project?
It came before. So the project was also, and I didn't really speak about this, but it was a very innovative project for our client. They wanted to prove that AI could be used to improve the underwriting process. And the fact that we put this together helped develop a lot of maturity around AI in our client space. So all that I told you about, the compliance, security, architecture board, so on and so forth. So we helped elevate. We were also one of the first applications that were running on the cloud, like self-managed applications for our client. So this entire project helped elevate that cloud maturity, app maturity, and AI maturity, or data science maturity, if you want to call it, in our clients.
Okay. Thank you, Santiago, for this fruitful discussion and great talk. And thank you all for joining our today's session. And in the description, you will find a link to access the presentation file and recording. And be sure to subscribe to our channels for more content like this. And we hope to see you tomorrow on the next sessions on Winter Data Meetup. Thank you all. And
Thank you, everyone, for your attention. I hope this was enjoyable, and have a great evening or afternoon, wherever you are. Goodbye.